Breslin Center in East Lansing, Michigan, getting ready to get loud and exciting as Eastern Michigan and Michigan State just about ready to tip things off on BTN. It's a building that the Spartans newcomers are still having to get a little familiar with. 6 of the first 8 were on the road, but now, Seth, they get to be home for a nice long homestand.
And that's usually when Tom Izzo questions his own sanity. Why am I starting 6 of 8 on the road? Because he's Tom Izzo, and that's why his teams are tournament tough.
Let's check out tonight's Buffalo Wild Wings starting lineups and the starting lineups for each of these teams. We mentioned the sharpshooters of Michigan State. This Eastern Michigan team is very interesting what they do with their lineup.
Yeah, and it's interesting that there's only one freshman that you see on that board. In fact, Ethan Alvano is the only freshman among Rob Murphy's top 10 players, and he will play 10 tonight. They're legitimately that deep.
Both of these teams looking forward to working on rotations. Rob Murphy in his 4th season, former head coach at Detroit Crockett High School. Back inside the Breslin Center. See his record with the Eagles, 60-52, a .536 winning percentage. And there's, of course, Tom Izzo, who has done it all as head coach of Michigan State. His record and resume certainly needs no introduction from me, so I will not do it. Suffice to say, one of the all-time greats.
Going to be 60 early next year. It's a rite of passage. Coach Izzo, I think he's holding up pretty well, better than the 2 of us, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's got more energy than you and I combined. We're ready to tip this one off between the Spartans and the Eagles. Fun matchup tonight. We're glad you're alongside it with us on BTN. Ethan Alvano, the freshman, 15th in the nation in assist-to-turnover ratio. Leading scorer, Ray Lee. We asked him his shoot-around. He goes by Raven. What do you want to be, Raven or Ray? He said Ray today.
Today.
So he will be Ray, the sophomore from Detroit. 9 to shoot. Okoloji on the drive, nothing there. Here's Lee taking it to the rim. Can't get the roll, and the rebound saved by Brandon Dawson. Nice quick hands by Alvano to knock it out of bounds. This Michigan State team is going to attack and attack quickly, Seth.
They like to attack in transition, and they like to go to the 3-point line in transition. So it's a huge point of emphasis for the Eagles, not only to get back, but locate.
Now they'll run their stuff against this Eastern Michigan defense. You'll see this zone all night long from the Eagles. In the corner, Bryn Forbes hits the 3. We talked about the 3-point shooting, and Forbes starts it off with an E-point.
And he's now 11 for his last 14 from behind the arc. That should be illegal.
Over the last 5+ games, 78% shooting from the floor, and the answer from Ethan Alvano, just his 4th made 3 of the year. Trice back to work, and the lob! Don't together, Schilling.
Key to beating the zone is to get penetration, either throw it into the high post or be able to dribble. That was way too easy for Rob Murphy's liking.
Something Tom Izzo and his team worked on a lot today at shoot-around as Lee tries the free throw line jumper, cannot hit, and the rebound to Okoloji. Okoloji losing it, and it'll go out of bounds, staying with the Eagles.
And you can see here, Valentine swings it around to Bryn Forbes. This is the first game of the season that he does not have any kind of brace on his left hand. He's been playing with a broken left hand, and then Trice inside to Schilling. So way too easy. Interesting that Michigan State has Bryn Forbes guarding Ray Lee a lot. Now they're switching on these dribble handoffs, but Forbes is not their strongest perimeter defender, so that's an interesting challenge for him to prove his worth.
Dawson showing around that screen from Okoloji. Now Warren. 2 minutes gone in this first half. Nowhere to go for Alvano with 10 to shoot. Carrington Ward off balance 3, and a foul underneath. Battling for the board, Mike Samuels picks up his first.
One thing Eastern Michigan does not do really well is shoot the ball. Talk about how good Michigan State is. Well, the Eagles are 10th in the MAC right now in 3-point shooting, a little under 31%. So if they're going to fire from deep, it's going to be a problem, because not only aren't they very good at doing that, but they're not good at offensive rebounding either.
Into the lineup for Eastern Michigan comes Mike Talley as Schilling works it around the perimeter back to Valentine, and that one blocked by Okoloji, and the rebound goes in the Eagles' hands.
Don't you love the ball movement, though?
On the drive, Alvano taking it all the way. Nice swat out after the miss. 5-3 ball game just underway here in East Lansing. Mike Talley, leading bench scorer in the MAC through the first month of the season, averaging over 10 points per game coming off the bench. Okoloji with the fadeaway over Schilling. Nice defense from Michigan State, forcing a tough shot.
Here's where they run. Here's where they're dangerous. Nice job getting back. You don't want those early shot clock attempts if you're Eastern Michigan. Make them work for their shots.
How many times today did we hear get back and locate at the Eastern Michigan shoot-around?
That's also a problem right there. You get the ball on the high post. Again, they didn't convert. But believe me, Rob Murphy does not want Brandon Dawson getting the ball at the high post. So that was a win for Michigan State, even though they didn't get the bucket.
And there's a steal. Defensively. Brandon Dawson, 3-on-2 in the pocket pick, but a foul is called. Talley reaching in, got a little bit of the ball and a little bit of the arm, and that'll be the first on Mike Talley.
So far, the Eagles doing pretty good closing out there. You see Samuels giving the 6'6" Dawson, so Samuels has the height advantage in there. And then again, strip on Schilling. But, you know, talking to Tom Izzo this morning, he really raved about Brandon Dawson's passing ability. I haven't seen a ton of it this year as Forbes misses. Nice to know he's capable of doing that.
Valentine trying to answer with a three of his own, cannot, and Talley quick to the other end. Look at that speed from Talley all the way to the rim. Mike Talley ties it at 5.
John Beilein could not say enough about Mike Talley defensively and his ability to convert. That's exactly what he did to Derek Walton.
Trice with the three, and Travis Trice, averaging over 14 points per game, hits the three.
He's the guy with the cold hand in the lineup, by the way. He only makes 42% from three-point range. That's not going to cut it on this team, Travis.
When 42% is the low man on the totem pole, you know you're having an awfully hot start to the year. Jodan Price with a heat check, wild miss. Talley with the rebound, cannot connect, and Dawson will pull it down.
Yeah, you can see that Eastern Michigan's going to have a hard time scoring in the half court. They're going to have to get some transition buckets, and Spartans will turn the ball over a little bit, but there's Dawson again at the high post.
And a turnover. Brandon Dawson picks up the foul, going the other way, and a timeout on the floor. Travis Trice with the deep three. This is what the Spartans do. They rain him down from behind the arc.
Spartans up by 3 here in the early going. We talked about Eastern Michigan's zone defense. Rob Murphy, a former Jim Boeheim assistant at Syracuse, he brought over, this is called the concept of the bump. Watch how Eastern Michigan shares responsibility to cover the three-point shooters. First, the forward comes up to close out on the shooter, and when the guard comes over, the forward slides back. That's called a bump. Now watch on the other side. The ball swings across. The forward, number 4, is Brandon Nazione. He covers the three-point shooter, and then Michael Talley, the guard, slides over and bumps him back to the baseline. That bump is a signature staple of Jim Boeheim's zone defense. He stole it from Jerry Tarkanian, the old Amoeba defense back in the day. But, Kevin, that's the point of this zone. We usually think about a zone defense as packing it in, letting somebody shoot over you. This defense is active. It pressures the ball, and it locks down on three-point shooters by using those bumps.
Yeah, it's a very different zone than your just average settle in and sit in the zone. That's not what this team does, and they're aggressive there. And the steal picked away by Jodan Price. Price on the other end, and Price has it ripped out of his hands by Clark. The putback try for Ward won't go, and the rebound tipped out by Costello.
That's a wasted opportunity from Eastern Michigan. When they have the chance to convert in transition, Kevin, they better take advantage, because there's not going to be much available to them in the half court.
Travis Trice hit that three a moment ago.
We're going to see Javon Bess get his first action of the season for Michigan State. He's a good-looking freshman they're really excited to have. Had a broken foot, and he's ready to go. We should see him at some point in the first half.
Clark on the drive with 4 to shoot, got to roll in. Speaking of freshmen that they're very high on, Marvin Clark's another one.
Marvin Clark Jr. is a guy I think can really have an impact on this team as he gets more experience through the season. He's athletic. He can shoot it. He's active on the backboards. They need a little bit more of that, especially on the offensive glass.
Talking with Tom Izzo about him earlier today, he said he's so much better even since the start of this year. And he said, look, he's not played a lot of basketball. He's just going to get better and better and better. He's very smart, very aggressive, heady player. Fade away with the shot clock winding down, and a new shot clock for Eastern Michigan. Working inside is Nazione, nothing there. And Talley's going to reset. Mike Talley's the calming leader, even though he's coming off the bench. The veteran in this lineup. Nice pass down low to Ajay. Ajay with the hook, and it won't go. They've had some good looks, Seth, just not able to get anything to fall.
Yeah, their bigs, Eastern Michigan's bigs are not real graceful, let's say, in the post when it comes to their offensive moves. They can catch and finish, but catching it, making a move or two, not their strength.
Block shot again for Eastern Michigan. Staying with it, though, is Clark, and Marvin Clark Jr. is going to work his way to the line. We talked about that defense for Rob Murphy. This is what happened in their win over Michigan. Those last two numbers, very interesting. Second chance points allowed and fast break points allowed.
Well, the thing is, you'd think, all right, Eastern Michigan went into Chrysler Center and beat Michigan. They probably shot lights out. They did great. How about they were 6 for 25 in the first half? They were 3 for their first 20 attempts from the floor. So it was their defense. And John Beilein called that defense one of the best zones, if not the best zone he'd ever seen. Tom Izzo refers to it as like the wishbone offense, to mix our metaphors, but it was because of the strength of their defense that they were able to pull that out in Ann Arbor. A program-defining win for Rob Murphy.
Michigan State trying to ensure that does not happen to them. Off to a good start, 11-5 the lead.
I'm sure they saw the tape.
Oh, no question.
They know they got Michigan. They don't want that to happen here. Little incentive there.
Jodan Price. Here's Talley working against Valentine. The bounce to Lee for 3. And the rebound inside for Costello. Spartans making sure that Eastern Michigan, for the most part, is one and done. And a foul is going to be called on Marvin Clark Jr. You called it a program-defining win. Eastern Michigan printed T-shirts. That's how much that win over Michigan meant to them. They've printed and are selling victory T-shirts for a December 9th win over Michigan. Big deal for Rob Murphy's team and for Rob Murphy's school.
Well, you hear the phrase, act like you've been there before. Well, guess what? They hadn't been there before. I think it was, what, 19 years, 17 years since they beat Michigan? This is their best start in 19 years, this team. And by the way, it's a brand new team, 9 new players. All but 2 of them are transfers. So this is college basketball 2014. You can transfer your way to success.
Nazione inside, one of those transfers, not from a Division I school, but from a junior college, Des Moines Area Community College. And he's on the board for the first time tonight. Dawson lost it inside and scooped up by Samuels. 4 turnovers already for Michigan State.
You can see they're thinking about that zone. They're getting the ball to Dawson in the high post. That's priority number 1. But so far, they're 0 for 4 when that's happened.
Jodan Price has it knocked back to Talley. It's about the game you expected. Kind of low scoring. Defensive struggle, at least early.
That's a game Rob Murphy wants.
Here's Talley. Shot clock down to 6. Now Lee with the shot clock at 3. Backs it out for 3, and Talley with 1 to shoot. Hits the 3.
Good defensive possession. Guy made the shot.
Entry pass to Costello down low. Back out to Tum Tum there. The pull-up for the young guard, and it's tipped out into the backcourt, and it's going to belong to Michigan State. Nice bounce. Good ball movement. Costello's going to the line. Excellent work with Dawson and Costello working in concert. And that'll earn a trip to the free throw line for Matt Costello after the timeout. Basketball on BTN is presented by Aprilaire. Feel good inside. And brought to you in part by State Farm. It pays to double check. Talk to your agent today. And by MFS Investment Management. Early lead for Michigan State, and the inside presence this season has been strong. Costello and Schilling, the 2-headed monster at center for Michigan State.
Well, I think Tom Izzo is pleased with the combination that he's getting from these guys. Neither one of them is going to be a double-double guy, but if he can average 12 and 10 between them, I think he'll sign for that right now. It's not going to be a strength of this team, and part of the problem I think that Michigan State has had in these early games, Kevin, even when they're winning, is they're not utilizing the free throw line enough. If you go back to some of their losses, even the game against Navy that they won, they didn't shoot a free throw in the first half. Notre Dame and Kansas really beat them. Duke beat them badly. on the foul line, so they've got to cash in more from the line if they're going to have success in the long term.
Good example there. Matt Costello, a 61% shooter on the year, but he hits both free throws. And Michigan State's lead is 3. The other problem Michigan State's been having this season is turning the ball over too much. They're ranked 13th out of 14 teams in the Big Ten in turnover margin tonight. 4 already tonight, which has led to 5 additional Eastern Michigan field goal attempts. Ward with the pull-up, a little bit strong, and there's Valentine with a strong rebound.
Now they got to go. Look for the three-pointers.
Inside, nice look again to Costello for the reverse. Costello and the bigs getting free inside that zone.
They were paying so much attention to three-point shooters, they lost Costello.
Lee trying to work against Valentine, may have gotten away with a walk.
I think Alvano did too, get away with a walk.
Second turnover as we look back to the Michigan State score.
You can see there, just Costello getting lost on the baseline as Ajayi lets him get behind him. He was so worried about the three-point shooters that Costello got behind him. So that's not good fundamentals, which is why he's going to take a seat on the bench. Rob Murphy can go 10, 11 deep, so he can substitute guys in and out if he doesn't like what he sees.
Now Gavin Schilling will substitute for Matt Costello. Another big key for those guys, they want to run, this Spartans team does, and if you can keep those bigs in the 20-minute per game range, good chance for production late in the game from your post play.
I think Eastern Michigan's done a pretty good job so far getting back.
The lob a little off in the direction of Dawson and out of bounds to Eastern Michigan.
Turnover number 5. Not good.
BTN goes where you want, when you want it with BTN to go, presented by Auto Owners Insurance. Watch live hoops on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. To learn more, visit btntogo.com. The handoff to Ray Lee. Now Ethan Alvano.
Michigan State is switching on everything up top. They're very content to have the Eagles launch three-pointers. They don't want them driving.
Lee on the drive, and it's blocked off. Again, excellent defense by Travis Trice. Nothing doing for Lee on that possession, and now he will leave as Jodan Price checks in.
Jodan Price is their best three-point shooter. We try to get that aspect of the game going a little bit.
Hard to pull an upset when you're shooting 4 of 18 as Eastern Michigan is, and you got to give credit to Michigan State defensively. They've done a very nice job limiting good looks for Eastern Michigan.
But again, they shot it real poorly against Michigan as well. It's their defense. That's their calling card. And I think the Spartans are finding out why right now.
Here's Dawson. Taken away again, another turnover. That's number 6. Here's Alvano to the other end, won't go. And the rebound picked around and pulled out by Dawson. Now on the run, Spartans with the bounce to Schilling. One-handed stuff for Gavin Schilling. Oh my!
And that's the first real transition opportunity that Michigan State has had, which is why Murphy is furious. Brandon Dawson, the rip, the run, the delivery on the run. Schilling with the punch.
17-12 Michigan State with a 5-point lead over Eastern Michigan. 7:49 remaining first half. Kevin Kugler alongside Seth Davis. Bryn Forbes, who came in from Cleveland State to join Michigan State this year. And these are the brace breakdowns. Large brace shooting 29%. Then he went to the medium brace, went up to 50%. The small brace, 77%. First game without the brace, 33%. Find me a brace.
I think we need a bigger sample size. Part of the problem is you lose your excuse. Right? It frees you up. You know, if you miss it, you're going to have a pretty good excuse. But that's what he was brought in to do. You know, transfer from Cleveland State. Tom Izzo hadn't had a lot of transfers come into this program. Was able to get a waiver, play right away. Local kid, high school teammates of Denzel Valentine. And he's had a good start. Not going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year in the Big Ten, but he's going to make a lot of shots.
That's key. There he is with the ball in his hands.
Trying to get to Dawson in the high post.
And Dawson draws the foul on his way up against Jerome Hunter.
They've been very successful at doing that. I know it was priority number 1. You see Dawson getting in there and definitely got him on the hand at Michael Samuels. You know, again, I talked to Tom Izzo for a while this morning about Brandon Dawson. Here's a guy who's number 1 in the Big Ten in rebounds. Got 18 rebounds against Notre Dame in that loss in overtime, and he still is concerned Izzo is about Dawson's motor. Can he sustain that level of effort? He's not a great offensive player. He's a good offensive player, but Izzo absolutely raved about his passing ability. We've seen some of that tonight, but he's also had a lot of turnovers. So can he sustain that type of intensity and effort over the course of the season? That's the only question right now about Brandon Dawson. Otherwise, he's a heck of a talent.
Ellis with the quick three. That won't go. Schilling the rebound. Those two free throws give Brandon Dawson 1,000 points for his career, the 46th Spartan to reach into that 1,000-point club. Looking to add to it here as he fades away and can't get the roll. The rebound by Carrington Ward. Neither team shooting lights out at this point. A 19-12 advantage for Michigan State.
Dawson's got to realize when he catches it there, he's going to have a 6'11 guy in his face. So he's going to have to adjust accordingly. So far, he has not done a good job of that.
Tonight's MFS inside the numbers, 1,000 career points for Brandon Dawson. We knew coming in there was a pretty good chance when he needed 2 points.
He was 2 away.
He was going to get that one. Safe to say we prepared for this. 1,000 career points. Congratulations to the senior from Gary, Indiana, Brandon Dawson.
That's 1,000 and counting.
Yes, there will be more. I'm confident in saying he will not be stuck on 2 tonight. There he goes again. Dawson inside. Offensive rebound. Costello can't get the roll, and there's Hunter to pull it down. Michigan State 6 of 16 from the floor. Eastern Michigan 5 of 22.
You know my rule, right, Kevin? If you don't get 50, it doesn't count as a win.
It doesn't count? You put an asterisk by it? The Seth Davis asterisk. Hunter on the drive. That's a charge. Hunter with the personal. That is his second personal foul. Already 2 on Samuels, so some trouble in the post for Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, that's a block. I know he lowered his shoulder, but the defender wasn't there. Costello wasn't there. But when you lower your shoulder like that, a little bit of a tell to the referee. But I think we'd all agree that the block charge call is out of balance. I think if it's close, you got to call it a block.
Dawson, the dump down.
Go. See, I like him passing from there as opposed to trying to score.
Trice open. And it rolls home. How about the vision by Costello to get it out to Trice?
If this was hockey, Dawson would get the hockey assist. When he gets the ball in that location, he's got to be thinking pass. To this point, he's been thinking score, and it's cost him that time. It led to the 3.
20 to shoot for Talley.
But again, you're just not used to playing against this type of zone, so it's understandable why Dawson would have a hard time making decisions because he's in unfamiliar territory. It's why Murphy plays these. Now, you see he gets the ball right in there, and Costello's right there on the baseline, and he does a good job not forcing it. The little swing pass up to Travis Trice, and the 42% three-point shooter rattles it home. Michigan State, Kevin, this year, again, has done a phenomenal job moving the basketball, sharing the basketball. They're 17th in the country in assists per field goals made. Last year, they set a single season. And they're on pace this year to break that. So all these three-point shots that have been going in for them, it's not because guys are creating it or just coming off curl screens and doing a lot of one-on-one moves. They are moving the basketball in San Antonio Spurs-like fashion, if I may say, and it's really just wonderful to watch.
64.2% assist rate for Michigan State this year.
And in fact, Tom Izzo's buddy Jimmy Boylan is an assistant with the Spurs, and they've talked a lot about adopting that mentality here.
Not a bad mentality to adopt. It's been pretty successful at the next level. Nazione, the rebound.
Works well with Tony Parker and Tim Duncan, by the way. If he could get Kawhi Leonard up here, maybe.
Yeah, not bad, guys. The parts are integral in making that system work, but seems more often than not Tom Izzo gets the parts here in East Lansing for Michigan State.
That's kind of interesting, by the way. We have not seen Javon Best, the freshman, 6'5" freshman, highly touted Ohio high school player of the year, had a broken foot. He's cleared to play. I expect we'll see him at some point tonight. I think Tom would like a little bit more of a lead before he throws him to the fire, but he wants to get him ready for Big Ten play. That I know.
I'm talking with him earlier today at shoot-around. He is chomping at the bit to get out there and play. He is more than ready to make his debut. Blocked by Costello. The save, but tipped into the hands of Valentine. Michigan State wants to run, and they've got numbers. Boom! To Dawson! The alley-oop and a flush. Timeout taken, Eastern Michigan. the transition, and the flourish on the finish for Dawson and the Spartans.
Automatic, right? Slap the backboards, automatic.
A technical foul was assessed on Brandon Dawson on the end of that play that went to break. Watch it one more time. There's the dunk, and right there, slaps the backboard. That's a technical.
First of all, it was worth it. I'm like Joe Sportsmanship. Anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that. That's Seth Davis Hoops, by the way. But that does not count as a personal or as a team foul.
No.
It's just a foul shot in the basketball, which they were going to get anyway. So if he wants to add a little mustard to that hot dog, I got no problem with it. He earned it.
And the turnover really doesn't end up hurting Michigan State. Still, Tom Izzo not necessarily going to be happy with that happening. Third foul a moment ago on Jerome Hunter for Eastern Michigan, and that will bring on Lukan Ajay back on the floor, and Marvin Clark Jr. in right now for Brandon Dawson.
We talked a lot about Eastern Michigan's defense, but guess what? Sparty can defend a little bit too. Right now, the Eagles are 5 for 24, and Michigan State's defense now fueling their offense, so they're flipping the script here on these guys.
And now 6 turnovers apiece. Eastern Michigan has caught up in the turnover category. Trice, open 3 once more, and Trice hits the open 3. 3 for 3 for Travis Trice. He's got 9.
Love seeing that ball move.
Lee will back it out.
Eastern Michigan's got to stay patient. They're down 11, still the first half. Long way to go. See how poised they are. A lot of new guys on this team.
And they've not been in this position much. Big deficits. Even in their loss to Dayton, it was a back-and-forth game. The fadeaway and the rebound for Clark. Valentine again. The skip to Trice, or rather to Forbes, and Forbes hits the 3. Bryn Forbes with a 3, and a timeout taken by Eastern Michigan. The Spartans with their largest lead of the night. 3:25 to go in the first. Michigan State by 14. Stay tuned at the half for the State Farm halftime report. Rick Pizzo and Stephen Bardo will break down our first half and check in on other action around the conference. The three-pointers starting to fall once again for Michigan State.
Well, it's the inside-outside action, which they've been doing all season long, and then Denzel Valentine with a nice skip pass to a wide-open Bryn Forbes. Rob Murphy not happy with that at all. His defense is specifically designed to cut out that action, and they're not communicating well, they're not moving well, and they're not locating shooters in transition, which is a concern, and this game is starting to get away from them pretty fast.
5 of 9 from 3 for Michigan State. They're up 14. 30-16, Michigan State with the lead. Time now for tonight's State Farm State of Success, and it's been the three-point shooting all year long that's led this Michigan State team. In fact, it's led the NCAA. #1 in the country in three-point shooting, and they're not hurting that tonight. 5 of 9 from 3, and we mentioned the assist rate for Michigan State, Seth. 10 assists on 10 made field goals so far tonight for Michigan State. They're sharing the ball, they're hitting their shots, they've got a double-digit lead.
Speaks well to the culture that Tom Izzo has here. Guys playing unselfish basketball, cheering for each other's success, and they see that it works. So when that ball moves around and guys get open looks, you know, a lot of times shooting percentage is a reflection of shot selection more so than shooting ability. When that ball moves and you wait for the best possible shot, your percentages are going to go up.
Alvano nowhere to go. Carrington Ward.
They can defend, can't they, Michigan State? I mean, that's not even a shot. That's
a prayer.
Yeah, well, you know, right now Eastern Michigan 5 for 26 from the field. They're not a good offensive team, I'll grant you that, but Michigan State is playing really good defense tonight, and they're sticking to their game plan.
And Rob Murphy was concerned about the height and was concerned about the aggressiveness of this Michigan State defense. And Trice almost like a safety made a play on that one to mix our metaphors again. And a foul is going to be called underneath against Eastern Michigan. It'll go on Ajay, and that is his second. So there's all kinds of foul problems in the post. 8 team fouls, so 1-on-1 on the other end. And for Eastern Michigan, you've got Fouls on Samuels, 3 on Hunter, and now 2 on Ajay.
They got problems. Now they got depth. So foul trouble is not going to affect them like it's going to affect a lot of teams. But if you're Michigan State, you got to be happy just being able to utilize the foul line. That's something they haven't been doing this year. This reflection of a team emphasizing the three-point shot. You're not driving as much, but still, we're used to thinking of Tom Izzo coach teams as having a lot of toughness, grinding things out. And the fact is, Kevin, they're going to have nights when the three isn't shooting. And their 3 losses, they're shooting 37% from behind the arc. So when the shots are going in, great. But over the course of a season, when you get into the NCAA tournament, you're going to have nights where the 3 isn't going to fall. What's your plan B? What's your plan C? I'm not sure they have it yet, but one of those things can be using the foul line.
That pass deflected out of bounds, and it's going to belong to Eastern Michigan. Largest lead of the night for Michigan State at 32-16. And this is a team that Tom Izzo was very concerned about. Called it, as you mentioned, the wishbone of college basketball. I mean, you don't see their kind of zone very often. Like if a football team runs into a wishbone squad, you don't see it very often. And to account for that on Monday, he had 6 players on defense going against the regulars to simulate, hey, there's always going to be somebody near you.
Well, you're seeing more coaches go to the zone. Thad Matta went from playing all man last year to all zone this year. And there are a lot of advantages to it. One of them, to play in the zone all the time. It almost doesn't matter what you do, Kevin. If you commit to doing something all the time that not a lot of other guys are doing, that can give you a competitive advantage.
Inbound lob to Ward. Shot clock down to 5. They've got to hurry. Alvano way behind the arc. Blocked by Valentine. And the shot clock violation will give it to Michigan State. That saves Eastern Michigan the easy deuce on the other end because the Spartans had 2 on none.
And the other thing Michigan State's doing much better, by the way, is taking care of the basketball. Remember, they had 6 turnovers early. They haven't had a turnover here probably in the last 10 minutes. So I know Izzo's got to be pleased with that.
And they've started forcing turnovers. Now 7 on Eastern Michigan. And Eastern Michigan started off pretty clean in the turnover department. Coming up on 2 minutes to go and a 16-point lead for Michigan State. The no look to Clark for 3. And the rattle out goes into the arms of Alvano. Alvano, that little hesitation trying to get by his defenders, couldn't do it. Forbes starts it the other way. Trice has had the hot hand. He'll try the lob inside. And Marvin Clark Jr. for 2. Michigan State, Seth, making it look awful easy right now.
I think Rob Murphy wants to get his team in the locker room before they leave too much blood on the floor here. This is starting to get ugly pretty fast. Michigan State came in here tonight, took away their confidence very early.
Carrington Ward forcing up another wild shot. That defense for Michigan State has completely stifled any offensive hopes for Eastern Michigan. They're 5 of 30 as Trice tries the 3. His first miss, and the rebound pulled down by Ajay.
You think it's possible that in the pregame dialogue, Tom Izzo may have said something along the lines of, hey, these guys beat Michigan. You guys know Michigan, right? Are you better than Michigan, or are you not better than Michigan?
That would seem to be an effective way to light a fire under a Michigan State team of any sport.
I'm guessing that was part of the pregame dialogue. They came out ready to play tonight, unlike Michigan when they played these guys.
And a timeout taken by Michigan State. Shot clock at 14. Game clock 37.9 seconds to go until halftime. And Michigan State with a big lead at home. Stay tuned for news, highlights, and analysis with Rick Pizzo and Stephen Bardo on the State Farm Halftime Report.
I want to hear Bardo. Can I hear Bardo?
You can hear Bardo. You can call him. I mean, the man eats, drinks, sleeps, hoops. Call him anytime, day or night. He's watching basketball.
How come no one's thought of starting the Stephen Bardo channel?
Yeah, 24/7 of Bardo.
All Bardo all the time, man.
Be a huge ratings bonanza.
Eyeballs, Stephen, eyeballs.
Here's Stephen making cereal. Here's Stephen mowing his lawn.
Stephen reading from his book. He wrote a great book, you know, about the flying Illini. He may have mentioned from time to time that he was on that team.
I've heard rumors. Valentine, nice skip in the corner to Forbes. And the rebound to Jodan Price. Eastern Michigan can hold for the final shot of the first half, and they will. "15 seconds remaining in this first half. Michigan State in the last half of this first half has simply dominated. And the turnover, one more turnover, the 8th of the half for Eastern Michigan. And that look says it all for Rob Murphy.
It's a good thing he has no hair already.
4 seconds for Michigan State. Trice will pick up. Trice with 1 second, the lob, and he cannot connect. He had Schilling there. If he's on target, it's a big exclamation point to the end of the first half. As it stands, Michigan State will head into the locker room with a comfortable lead. After the break, Rick Pizzo and Stephen Bardo will bring you the State Farm halftime report. Our halftime score in East Lansing, Michigan State leading Eastern Michigan 34-19. Basketball on BTN is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. And by Culligan. Better water, pure and simple. A 34-19 lead at the half for Michigan State as we get ready to start the second half here in East Lansing, Michigan. Alongside Seth Davis, I'm Kevin Kugler. A first half that saw defense a big story, but the defense of Michigan State was the big story.
Well, we talked a lot about Eastern Michigan's zone in the opening and throughout the telecast. Well, guess what? Sparty, they can defend a little bit too. You're not going to beat too many teams when you shoot 6 for 32 from the floor, and you're certainly not going to beat Michigan State in the Breslin Center. And what the Spartans have been able to do very well is to turn that defense into offense using block shots, getting into the passing lane. You saw Brandon Dawson earlier with the assist, and there's Denzel Valentine, and then Trice to Dawson with the finish. He got the technical on the slap in the backboard. We forgave him for that. It's Hanukkah after all, but the point is that Michigan State came in here tonight with the goal of defending with intensity and with intelligence, and they have done that, and that is why they have this big lead.
A 34-19 advantage as Michigan State and Eastern Michigan start this second half. What do you do if you're Eastern Michigan head coach Rob Murphy to get your team back on the offensive right track? It's been hard against this Michigan State defense as Trice starts with a 2.
I think you got to tell them not to watch the scoreboard. And my friend Clark Kellogg, who I'm privileged to work with at CBS, likes to talk about when you eat the pizza pie, you got to eat it one slice at a time. So you don't want to see them getting away from what they do. They run the clock on offense. They show patience. You're not going to get a 20-2 spurt against Michigan State. You got to do it a little bit at a time and stay within your identity.
Long outlet to Trice. Trice to the other end. The little guy flying high for the flush.
Little fella got ups. An inspiration to us little folk.
What a start to the second half. 1 minute in and a 38-19 advantage for Michigan State. The poke away by Valentine. And a whistle and a foul is going to be called. Schilling got tangled up with Mike Samuels. One more look at Travis Trice.
The elevator man jumping into your living room with the finish. We call that a high percentage shot, but you know, on that last sequence, Kevin, even though Gavin Schilling committed a foul, I mean, Eastern Michigan just can't run any offense. I mean, they're not. Talked about it, you know, even when they won at Michigan, we got another foul here, but they won at Michigan. It's not because they shot the ball well. They shot 33%. They were 6 for 25 in the first half. Their defense was so good, and their defense created some offensive opportunities. So Michigan State has flipped that script on them and have really exposed, I think, Eastern Michigan as a pretty deficient offensive team, especially in the half court.
Foul on Marvin Clark Jr. He gets a breather. And a foul is going to be called on Gavin Schilling. And that's frustrating Schilling a little bit as he will leave for Matt Costello.
Got to keep your hands off him. When you put your hands on the dribbler like that, it's an automatic whistle. Tom Izzo less than pleased.
Aggressively counseling his sophomore post.
Good thing about Izzo, you never have to wonder where you stand with him. He's going to tell you. He's one of those coaches. He's going to ride his guys really hard, Kevin, but he's also going to put in the time to build a relationship and coddle them. Let them know they cares about him as Ray Lee with the rainbow floater. Very nice, young man.
Bucket and the foul on Bryn Forbes and a chance at a three-point play for Ray Lee.
Talked about his old man game, old school game. The long post, the fadeaway mid-range splash.
This has been a foul-filled possession. 4 fouls against Michigan State on this trip down the floor for Eastern Michigan. And that caps the three-point play.
Now Eastern Michigan showing some full court pressure, trying to jack up the tempo a little bit. First time we've seen that.
Now they settle back and the Spartans go on the move. Trice, the open three. Got a good look. Dawson trying to tip the rebound, but a nice spin by Samuels to clear it out. Alvano driving into the teeth of the defense, and already the 15th foul against Michigan State. This going on Denzel Valentine, his second.
See Ethan Alvano, the freshman, pushing it up the court, forcing the action. Denzel Valentine letting Brent Forbes know exactly what he did wrong. And you're right, Kevin. 18-12 on the clock, 5 team fouls. That's one way to get back in the game.
Ball knocked away, saved in play. Nice effort on the end by Alvin Ellis III. Here's Trice for 3. And it'll go out of bounds to Eastern Michigan.
Now the other thing you asked me, what is Rob Murphy looking for here? He's going to need a little bit of help from the Spartans to miss some of these three-point shots.
This crowd at the Breslin Center a little unhappy with how things have gone the first couple of minutes from an officiating standpoint.
Well, I think there was a tangle on this side of the court. A couple of guys got tangled up that the refs didn't see.
Valentine with the rebound off the Okoloji miss.
Because otherwise fans are usually quite happy with officiating.
Yeah, they love him. Valentine now will set up. Michigan State tries to score quickly, and then they go back to running their stuff if it's not there early.
At a certain point, Eastern Michigan, they just got to hope that when they do get those open shots, they're not going to convert.
Inside, and a foul is called. Alvin Ellis. A little more aggressive cheer than would be expected for a foul on Mike Samuels.
Well, again, you get Brandon Dawson at the high post. You see the entry there, almost posting up Ray Lee there at the top of the key and then looking to pass. First half, first 10, 11 minutes of the game, he was looking to score there. And the results weren't very good, so it's a better role for Brandon Dawson to be playing. That's a pretty ugly foul shot there.
2 for 4 is Ellis in his limited times at the line. Missed 6 games with that high ankle sprain, but saw his most action of late. Last time out, played 17 minutes.
I think Tom Izzo was hoping that he'd start Ellis and bring Forbes off the bench. Not necessarily because Ellis is better than Forbes, just because he liked that rotation. Izzo is not happy right now with his situation with his rotation. He'd like to get something a little bit more settled into a pattern as opposed to just reaction substitution. That's how he prefers to do it, but it's a little early in the season. They've had some injuries and illnesses that have prevented him from being able to do that.
And you and I were talking earlier, you brought up a good point about getting older off the bench. It's not something a lot of teams could do, but if they go that direction, Bryn Forbes gives them age and experience off that bench.
Right, because they already bring Marvin Clark Jr. off the bench. He's a freshman. They bring Tum Tum off the bench. He's a freshman. If Jabbar Mess ever gets in this game and gets in the flow, he's a freshman. So, yeah, if you can get old and you go to your bench, that's a good thing to have.
They bring a 1,000-point scorer off the bench. That's not bad either. And that's a foul on Mike Samuels, and that is number 4 on Samuels. So Samuels with 4, 2 in this second half, and that's going to bring Lakan Ajayi back off of the Eastern Michigan bench.
One thing I really like, you know, it's interesting what you pick up watching the team at close range as opposed to on the television, is Denzel Valentine's leadership. He's a very vocal leader out there. Positive, negative, everything in between. You often hear guys described as, well, he's not a vocal leader, but he's a leader by example. But I'm not sure you can be a good leader if you're not vocal. Well, Denzel Valentine, like a Draymond Green, like a Mateen Please, very vocal, and that's Costello with the charge. That's number 6.
On the team, and for Costello, that is his second personal foul. 16th foul right here.
It's a good double team action there. I don't think Costello's used to seeing too many double teams on the post, as Anali Okoloji came in to help out.
6 fouls, so the next foul by Michigan State will put Eastern Michigan at the line for the remainder of this ball game. Still 16-15 to play. Lee's 3 rattles home. Ray Lee gets the roll, and there's an injured Eagle on the floor. It's Anale Okoloji, a little slow to get up.
I didn't see exactly what happened, but I know Ron Murphy thinks he may have got thrown to the ground here. Let's see what happened there. Oh, yeah, Brandon Dawson just threw him to the ground. Got away with one. I'm sure all the fans who are booing the officials will now send them holiday cards thanking them for not making that call, because Dawson flat out threw him to the ground. They just missed it.
Well, Valentine has his pocket picked by Lee. 2-on-1, Lee to the other end. The crowd thought he used the arm to clear a little space for that two, but Eastern Michigan back within 12.
Well, he may have, but the bigger problem is that Valentine gave up that steal. Very unlike him. Turned his head, and Lee took advantage.
Eastern Michigan has chipped 3 points off the halftime deficit. In the corner, the deep shot for Costello. Offensive board for Dawson. Dawson shoveling to Costello. In traffic, it's blocked away. Dawson trying for the cram. And Dawson goes down hard.
He landed hard on that tailbone.
Oh, my goodness.
Hope he's all right, because that was a really, really good sequence. But he landed hard.
Mike Talley came out limping for Eastern Michigan, but Brandon Dawson down and in obvious pain. He went way up in the air.
Looks like he's holding his left wrist there. That may be where he landed.
One last look as Dawson still down at the Breslin Center. The mood changed very dramatically in the Breslin Center as Brandon Dawson went down hard, trying to follow up with a big dunk.
Shame of it is that was his best sequence of the game. 2 offensive rebounds and a sweet pass, and then an aggressive play at the basket. And it looked like he landed hard on his tailbone, but the larger concern was his left arm, maybe his left wrist as they were looking at it. But he walked into the locker room.
Ajay called for his 3rd foul, and Dawson in the locker room right now, and his teammates are certainly concerned about him. So Ajay called for the foul. Obviously Dawson is not going to be shooting these free throws, so
which means Tom Izzo can choose anybody he wants, not only the players in the game, but he can actually take somebody off of his bench. Obviously, he's got some very good free throw shooters in the game right now. Probably Bryn Forbes at 90%. Obviously, Dawson is the greater concern. Hopefully, he's okay.
Alvin Ellis will be the shooter. Ellis, we saw a moment ago, go 1 for 2 at the line. He is 3 for 5 on the year.
Well, give Eastern Michigan credit for hanging in there. I mean, this game was getting pretty ugly. They got it down to 12. It's now at 13, but they can stay patient, stay within themselves, chip away a little bit at a time, put some game pressure on Michigan State. They got a chance, but of course they have to hope that the Spartans are going to miss some of those jump shots, which they have a little more so here in the second half.
14-point lead, Eastern Michigan ball. And now the crowd starting to become a factor again, trying to rally their team.
It's a great opportunity for Rob Murphy to find out what his kids are made of here. These next 4 or 5 minutes are going to be critical.
Price, the deep 3.
That's
way
just not a good shot. There's no reason for that shot. Valentine.
And a foul is going to be called. Lee reaching in along with Talley. And that'll go on Ray Lee.
The Eagles doing a better job getting back. You see what Rob Murphy has scheduled for his team. Of course, they pick up a little paycheck when they play these games. They're called guaranteed games, but part of the deal, and they've competed well on the road against good teams. And they're competing right now. I don't think they can come back and win this game, but I like how they're competing, and I'm sure he does too.
It's all a learning process for both of these teams at this point in the season. Still trying to figure out your rotation, still trying to figure out what you're going to do come conference time. Clark in the corner is fouled. The shot clock was winding down, and Okoloji commits the foul, shooting the three, and Marvin Clark Jr. is going to go to the line.
Yeah, you know, you jump into the three-point shooter, you land body to body, it goes down, and then you turn to the ref and you ask what you did wrong. I mean, you got to contest and you got to put a hand in his face. He's deep in the corner, deep in the shot clock, and you bail him out with the foul. But Eastern Michigan doing a much better job getting back in transition and locating the open shooters in transition. That's helped as well.
Marvin Clark came in 10 of 13 at the line. He's 1 for 3 tonight. Freshman who's playing a little bit out of position. Seen a lot of time at the 4, more of a 3, but Tom Izzo's not the least bit concerned about that.
He'll pick up some minutes here with Dawson out.
Weeknights join the conversation on BTN Live. It's the most comprehensive nightly sports discussion, including the upcoming bowl season in the Big Ten. BTN Live, weeknights at 6 Eastern on BTN. Jodan Price. Nazioni nowhere to go, has to back it out. Still 20 to shoot. Lee got caught in the air.
Patience.
Very frantic offensive possession right now. Nazioni, the shovel inside to Ajay, and he got the roll.
Showed patience. They passed up good shots, and they got a better one. That might have been their best offensive possession in the half court of the game.
And it started very frenetically.
Dawson out of there. You see how much Michigan State needs Dawson defensively.
Floater well off the mark. Jodan Price the rebound. Nice pass ahead. Nazioni with the reverse and the foul. And confidence starting to grow for Eastern Michigan. A chance at a three-point play after the foul on Matt Costello.
Spartans were totally disorganized. They got back, but they didn't match up. You see them get back, everyone's kind of watching the ball. And Nazione gets behind 3 white jerseys. That can never happen.
And making his debut, Javon Bess on the floor for the first time this season. Missed his first 10 games after a broken right foot. And with Dawson out, Bess's size and length, certainly something Tom Izzo's looking for.
Well, it's interesting to me that he didn't get any minutes in the first half. We were waiting for that to happen, and now that we've gotten a little tighter here in the second half, he's coming into a situation with some game pressure, and right away commits a foul on the screen.
Ray Lee picks up his second. 16 fouls apiece now, or rather 7 for Michigan State and 6 for Eastern Michigan. But Eastern Michigan's nearly caught up. Valentine to Trice.
They've got Bess in there in that high post position now. And they want to put Valentine there instead, but nice to have Valentine with the ball in his hands so he can make that type of a play.
First 2 tonight for Denzel Valentine off the screen from Bess.
Yeah, he's got to get more assertive right now. With Dawson out of the game, offensively, Valentine's got to take over a little bit.
He does have 6 assists as Lee's floater well short. The rebound tipped around and out of bounds off of Bryn Forbes. Good effort by Ajay, diving into his bench.
Certainly was a good effort. Good effort trying to convince the referee that something happened that it did not. I always appreciate that. Like to see those floorboards.
The 3 way off. Did Valentine get a little piece of that? He might have. Trice to the other end. Eastern Michigan regathering so quickly in the early stages of the offense for the Spartans.
I'm sure this is all that Murphy talked about at halftime, was getting back in transition and locating, not just running back to the rim, but finding their shooters.
The tie-up gives it back to Eastern Michigan. On how many times did we hear him add the and locate? He was stressing to get back, but the and locate was key for his team. You've got to locate your guy and be ready. Defense is what's allowing Eastern Michigan to hang around. They're shooting just 26% from the floor.
Yeah, I was going to say, now it's time to make some shots. Because it feels like they're back in this game, and it's still down 14, and the clock is ticking.
4 of 15 from 3. Mike Talley.
Nice.
A good first step. Can't get through the trees, though, on the rebound pulled down by Gavin Schilling. Trice on the attack. Numbers. Forbes steps in for the long 2. And he Bryn Forbes with the 2 and a 16-point lead for Michigan State.
Nice job by Trice to push it.
8 for Forbes. Alvano the fadeaway. And the rebound for Javon Bess. Bess off the bench providing a little rebounding. That's a couple already. Here's Forbes.
Just like that, it's back to 19. This is why it's called basketball. You must make baskets. And that is why Bryn Forbes came from Cleveland State to Michigan State. Spartans are rolling.
A transfer that can add instant offense for your team.
Well, he's a specialty guy, and he's a special delivery man tonight because that outside shooting dimension opens everything up inside this offense. And they know he likes to settle into the corners. He's getting comfortably within rhythm, playing without his brace tonight. He's had a broken bone on his left hand. I mentioned coming into the game, he was 10 for 13 in his last 13 shots and 3 for 6, and Trice also 3 for 6. So this is Michigan State's identity. Again, we're not used to thinking of a Tom Izzo coach team as, you know, spread them out and bomb them from 3, but hey, go with it. As long as they can defend, and they can.
Spread them out, bomb them from 3, get out and run. Ward with the floater for Eastern Michigan off the timeout. 4 points for Carrington Ward, who averages 13 a game.
Yeah, he's struggled for Eastern Michigan this season. I think Rob Murphy wants more consistency, better shooting from him. Hasn't shot it well. His last 3 games, 28% from the floor. Not getting any better tonight.
No, 2 for 9 tonight as Schilling turns it over to Eastern Michigan. Lee. Nazione on the drive, and he got the roll. And just when you think Eastern Michigan is dead and done, they come back with little spurts and show signs of life. We showed you earlier the road tests already for Eastern Michigan. All Elite 8 teams on the road from last year's tournament. Driving is Forbes, and Forbes tripped up on the way down the baseline. Ajay in there on the foul, and a timeout on the floor. 50-35, Michigan State shooting free throws when we return. It pays to double check. Talk to your agent today. Kevin Kugler alongside Seth Davis as we welcome you back inside the Breslin Center. There's a good look at Javon Bess making his Spartan debut tonight. One of the things Tom Izzo said right away about him is, I know he's a good rebounder, and that's what he's provided early in this night. A couple of rebounds in his 3 minutes of play.
Well, a lot of times when it comes to freshmen, Kevin, it's not so much about talent and ability as can you fill a need. And on this team, Javon Bess can fill a need. They have all the outside shooters they need. What they need are slashers, they need offensive rebounders, and they need versatile defenders, especially when you get a situation that they're in right now where you have someone like Brandon Dawson who's out of the game. But, you know, overall, Michigan State's offensive execution has been very impressive in general tonight. You know, Eastern Michigan came in holding opponents to about 36% from the floor. Michigan State shooting 42%. So even though the Eagles are doing better in the second half, shooting 47% versus 19 in the first half, Michigan State also converting themselves, and so Eastern Michigan can't quite climb back in this thing.
Lee on the attack against Bess, and Bess is going to be called for the foul on the edge. 8th team foul against Michigan State, so the one-on-one opportunity for Ray Lee. Both teams are going to be at the line the rest of the way, and we've still got 10:39 to play.
You don't got a flight tonight, do you?
No, I'm not. I'm sticking around.
I think I'm going to be here for a while.
Lee, a 73% shooter, hits the first. Ray Lee, double figures in each of the first 5 games this year for the Eagles, but fewer than 10 in 3 of the last 4. He did have a huge night at Dayton, 26 points.
26 at the loss at Dayton, so he can score in bunches. Not so much from the three-point line, but he can score in a lot of different ways. But Michigan State's done a great job, not only individually with their matchups, but good team awareness for Lee tonight as he hacks Bryn Forbes. That's not the guy you want to put on the line.
Forbes came in 9 for 10 at the line. He's 1 for 2 tonight.
It's kind of an odd foul. I mean, it just hacked his shoulder from behind.
Early in the shot clock, long way from the basket.
That's what I mean by patience. 14 points is not a huge lead. It's a big lead, but it's certainly doable. But you know, if the three-point shot is not a part of your arsenal, I always feel like it's almost like you're playing 4-on-5 because you're not taking advantage of everything on the court. You don't have to do it as well as Michigan State does it. Nobody in the country does it better than Michigan State. But if it's not a part of what you do, it's a pretty big concession in this day and age in college basketball.
It's got to be hard as a player on that team. You know that. And so when you look up and see that deficit of 15 now, and now 16, it's got to feel like about 26.
Hard to come back, and then it's also easy to defend. So Michigan State, all they have to do is switch on all those dribble handoffs. Don't let them penetrate to the basket. You know they can't throw it into the post, so the only thing that's left is to have them shoot over you. That's why they only have 37 points.
Halfway through this second half, Michigan State in control, and the three will not go. There's Best with another rebound.
But you think about some of the other teams in the Big Ten. I mean, obviously Wisconsin, but Ohio State, Indiana, you know, these are teams that can move the ball around, locate open shooters. It's not going to be, you can't have this defensive game plan against a lot of teams in the Big Ten.
15 to shoot for Valentine and the Spartans. Trice blocked off with 8 to shoot. Trice, the fadeaway, blocked by Nazione. Good defense by Eastern Michigan once again. Now can they put it in on the other end? Talley, nice hesitation and a big spike by Gavin Schilling out of bounds.
Michael Talley serving it up. Very nice for Mr. Schilling. Here you go, sir. Here's the basketball. Maybe I'm just a grumpy old man. I'm never as impressed when I see a guy swatting it out of bounds.
Bill Russell would agree. Turnover. Lob to Forbes. He cannot get there. The lob a little too far from Trice.
Not a bad idea. The rim got in the way. I don't mind that pass. Tom Izzo might not agree, but what does he know? 6 Final Fours? Between the two of us, we have 6 Final Fours.
That's true. You were an integral part in all of yours.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave you out.
Yeah, you're leaving me out. And a foul inside. Schilling will go to the line.
I like seeing Schilling attack the basket. Like to see him do more. You know, Schilling and Costello, they get a little bit too finesse for my taste sometimes in the posts. Mr. Nazione right there, you'll see he'll take a left hand in the face. Good aggression. Gavin Schilling is a nice player. I mean, he's gotten better. 6'9", 240. From Chicago, played at Finley Prep out in Henderson, Nevada, so he played at a high level of high school basketball.
And you know where he's improved, at least early in this season, that's very noticeable, and it's fouling. He is not near the liability from a foul standpoint as he was a year ago, as Valentine comes up with a big rebound off the miss. He averaged over 8 fouls per 40 minutes last year. He's averaging just over 2 fouls a game. And in a night where we've seen a lot of fouls, Schilling just 2 tonight.
Well, you know, big players always have a harder transition from high school to college, because in high school, you're just bigger than everybody. So it's a big adjustment for the speed of the game. So somebody like Schilling, the game is just moving too fast for him at first. It takes a lot of guys. It takes a full year, sometimes longer, to get used to the speed of that. So, and that's why the game's slowing down for him offensively, too. He's making 71% of his shots. He shot 55% last year, but he's gotten better in that respect. He's not at the level talent-wise of an Adrian Payne, obviously, but in talking to Tom Izzo this morning, you know, he's more consistent, he's more stable, he's more predictable than Payne, and there's something to be said for that.
The kick into the corner for 3. And there's Schilling, as we speak of him, battling for the rebound, but he cannot corral it. He goes out of bounds to Eastern Michigan. A moment ago, watch this rebound one more time from Denzel Valentine. That was awesome.
Very nice, and even better is good news, bad news is Brandon Dawson is making his way back into the arena. You hear the crowd. The bad news is he's got his left wrist wrapped in ice, so I'd be very surprised if we saw him come back into the game. I have to await word. I'm assuming they x-rayed him back in the locker room.
Deep 3 for Lee off the inbound, and the rebound knocked out by Eastern Michigan.
I know you Spartan fans at home are holding your breath there, hoping he's all right, because he is a very, very valuable player for this team.
Next two games are Texas Southern and the Citadel. Not to sleep on either of those teams, but they can probably get by each of those teams if Dawson needs to rest. However, to follow, you start conference play with Maryland and Indiana. You're going to want him for those games.
And it is his non-shooting hand, so that's something that obviously don't want to speculate too much, but it's something he could play with. You know, Dorian Finney-Smith down in Florida has that issue. He's got 2 broken bones in his offhand. Brent Forbes had a broken bone in his offhand and playing with the brace, so it's something you can play through. Let's just hope everything's all right for him, because he's worked very hard and he's ready to have a big year.
And a foul as Ward went up, and a timeout on the floor. Tom Izzo in his 20th season. He's one of those coaches that you'll just come and watch, if nothing else, just to see the expressions. He's worth the price of admission all by himself. Michigan State 54, Eastern Michigan 37, 7:41 remaining in the second half. Kevin Kugler alongside Seth Davis here in East Lansing, Michigan. And one more look inside. This is what sent Brandon Dawson to the bench and eventually to the locker room. A left wrist injury is the official word. He will not return for Michigan State tonight. And beyond that, Seth, we don't really have any more information.
We don't have information. We can only hope that he's all right, but he's not going to be playing in this one. And it looks like they're pretty comfortably ahead without him, so it's not a concern as far as the outcome of this game, certainly moving forward. And even though he didn't have good numbers, his activity in that high post, and he seems discouraged over there, but as I said, right now we'll hope for the best and wait for better information.
Carrington Ward for one more. If you're just joining us, Michigan State has led the entire game. The biggest lead, 19 points. Spartans shooting 40% from the floor. But Eastern Michigan really struggling offensively. A lot of the talk was about Eastern Michigan's defense. Michigan State has proven they can play a little D as well. 26% shooting tonight for Eastern Michigan.
Now the Eagles showing some full court pressure, trapping in the corners. They haven't done this all night. Got to try to change it up, but
Trice will have to back it out again. Eastern Michigan, one thing they've done is get very organized early in the offense. They've done a nice job limiting those kinds of runs.
Michigan State just has so many good ball handlers. It's hard to imagine that using full court pressure is going to be all that effective, but down this much, you got to try something different.
Costello looked like he had a path to the basket, instead passed again. Maybe too unselfish that time for Costello. Shot clock's at 8 as Valentine will trigger, and the pass deflected out of bounds. Now it's 7 for the Spartans.
I think they'd like to swing this out to Forbes for a 3. I wouldn't lose him.
Trice with 5 to shoot. Nice dish. Clark on the drive. Clark finishing. Pretty good work with the shot clock winding down. Talley backing it out against Trice. Talley in traffic with 13 to shoot. Eastern Michigan just 13 of 51 from the floor with the shot clock winding down. The 3 won't go. Costello the rebound.
Michigan State, among many things they've done well tonight, very, very good job on the defensive backboard. Eastern Michigan only 11 offensive rebounds on 51 shot attempts. It's pretty good.
When you lose Brandon Dawson as the turnover gives it back to Eastern Michigan, you lose Brandon Dawson on the night, the first night all season that Tom Izzo has had every eligible scholarship player healthy and ready to go. They've lost 17 games due to either injury or illness this year. Dawson lost one with an illness earlier in November, and you get everybody back and somebody else goes down.
Well, that was the story last year. I mean, last year was an absolute disaster on that front. They were still a game away from the Final Four.
Will they count the bucket? They will not. Okoloji was trying to convince the officials to count it. Instead, free throw time for Anale Okoloji. Tonight after our game, it's the Big Ten finale. Our guys in the studio break down the full day of basketball with highlights and analysis tonight right after the game on BTN. 10 team fouls whistled against Michigan State, so 2 free throws the rest of the way for Eastern Michigan. The next foul on the Eagles will be their 10th, so we'll see some free throw shooting down the stretch. Eastern Michigan 10 of 11, Michigan State 16 for 21.
That has not been a point of strength for Michigan State this season. And you know, you have injuries and you lose somebody like Dawson, but this is a great opportunity for Marvin Clark Jr. to get some valuable minutes. We talked earlier, Kevin. I think this is a guy who could really contribute to this team. The more confidence he gets, understanding his role, staying in his lane, not trying to do things he's not capable of doing, but he can do that right there. Didn't go in, but he's a 50% three-point shooter. So even if he's going to make some mistakes, I think they're valuable mistakes in this type of a setting.
Now, Coach Izzo's called him a poor man's Brandon Dawson, which is high praise for a young man who's, as Coach Izzo said earlier today, hasn't seen a lot of time on the basketball court. Young in his career at Michigan State and young as a player overall. And a foul going against Trice.
Nice recognition by Carrington Ward. Had the height advantage on Travis Trice instead of settling for the jumper and the long-range shot, backing him into the paint and getting to the foul line. This is a young man who came in as a preseason all-conference selection in the MAC and has struggled a little bit. He's been a little inconsistent, hasn't shot it well. Talked to Rob Murphy about him, said he's pressing a little too much, thinking a little bit too much. But if they can get him going and offensively confident, that'll make a big difference, because as you can see in the half-court offense, they're very limited.
7 points tonight for Ward, but he's gone 2 for 11 to get those 7 points. Marvin Clark Jr. Trice thought about the 3, deep 2. Rebound tipped up and in by Clark. That's one area that they'd like to see him continue to grow in. Hitting the glass, offensive rebounding, an encouraging sign a game ago when he had a couple of offensive boards. The 3 rattles off. There's Clark again, pounding the glass.
Really like this young man, Marvin Clark. He can help this team.
5 rebounds tonight for Marvin Clark to go with his 11 points, and inside the little floater for Costello.
See, I like Valentine at the high post in the half court. I know he's valuable with the ball in his hands, but he can create so much with his versatility, with his size, with his basketball IQ, with his leadership. It's the Denzel Valentine Show. It's Valentine's Day every day in East Lansing. Kevin Kugler. Spartans up by 18. Couldn't resist.
Michigan State starting to stretch the lead again, closing in on their largest lead. And why are they doing it? Because they're getting some good work inside from Marvin Clark Jr.
Valuable minutes and a valuable opportunity for a freshman who's played in spurts, but with Brandon Dawson on the bench with big old ice pack on his left wrist. And then you see Denzel Valentine moving the ball, and Mr. Costello with the finish. Excellent team basketball for these Spartans. A lost art in college basketball, I assure you, to see the ball move like this.
Samuels fouled by Denzel Valentine, who thought he had the rip but was going the other way. For Valentine, his 3rd. To the line goes Mike Samuels, who has really struggled at the line this year. Not had an attempt tonight, but 7 for 16 on the season.
I'd say you jinxed. I think you were trying to reverse jinx him there. But, you know, one thing you notice about Michigan State on defense, Kevin, you never see a help side defender slide in and try to take a charge. And the reason is Tom Izzo hates the charge rule. And he feels like if he teaches his players to do that, then he's hypocritical. And his #1 concern is player safety, but there's also a principle involved. And I don't know that I go quite as far as he does, Kevin, but the charge block call is out of whack right now in college basketball. There is a place for it. Last year, they changed the rule to make it more like the NBA rule, where if a player was going into his upward motion, the defender had to be set. Now it's leaving the ground again. I don't know why they gave up after 1 year, but it was a bad decision.
And we've seen scoring decrease in college basketball. Not all attributed to that, but certainly in part because we've seen that rule utilized in ways it shouldn't be.
We're on pace for one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive seasons in college basketball in about the last 20 years in terms of scoring, shooting percentage, pace of play. But the Spartans can put it on the scoreboard. And they are putting it on Eastern Michigan tonight. Go sharp.
All right, Rick, thank you very much. You can see that it's a holiday kind of feel here in East Lansing. And it is a celebration for Michigan State. This is what they've done since 1997-98. Now, not a ranked opponent tonight, but Tom Izzo has never been afraid to go anywhere, play anybody at any point in the year. They've been tested already this season.
And it is no coincidence, I believe, Kevin. I think it's probably hard to document this and quantify it. And all you numbers geeks out there, the connection between the schedules that Tom Izzo plays every year and the way his teams perform in the NCAA tournament. This whole program is predicated on one word and one word only: toughness. It's mental toughness, it's physical toughness, the way he recruits, the way he conditions, the way he does his practice planning, the way he sets up all of his scheduling. It's all to be mentally and physically tough, especially for that second week in the NCAA tournament at the end of a long 4-month season. Everybody's hurt, everybody's tired. You've got to win 2 games in 3 days to get to the Final Four. That's when you find out who's tough. And more often than not, Michigan State is that team.
Steel sharpens steel. That's the thought behind that kind of a schedule. And it has certainly proven to be effective over the years for Michigan State. How about Costello tonight, Seth, at the line? 6 for 6 at the free throw line tonight for Matt Costello. And Michigan State enjoying its largest lead of the night at 20 points.
Came in 11 for 18. Be nice if he could find that groove.
Ward with a guarded 3. And the rebound by Javon Bess, who has provided rebounding tonight. He's got 4 boards in limited time off the bench. Did not play in the first half. Has seen his first action of the season in the second as Valentine splashes the 3. He's got 5 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists.
He's a versatilist. His best strength is his versatility. He's shooting it well this season, but his basketball IQ, and he's got a lot of tools in his toolbox. He knows how to use them.
I trust you because you are an accomplished writer. But is versatilist a word that I can use in everyday conversation, say with Ivy League elite?
It is now.
Okay, all right.
It is now. I just established it.
All right, I appreciate that. I want to know. I don't want to be embarrassed when I'm hanging out with the upper crust of society.
Kevin, I'm embarrassed all the time. You just get used to it. You got to go.
Just shrug it off. Substitution as Colby Wallenman is coming in. And Bryn Forbes tonight, the junior from Lansing, the transfer from Cleveland State. And Bryn Forbes, tonight's Culligan pure and simple difference maker. And for Bryn Forbes tonight, 4 for 7 shooting, 3 for 6 from 3, 14 points, 3 rebounds. Our Culligan pure and simple difference maker, Bryn Forbes tonight. Third most productive scoring night in his very young Spartan career. There will be others. Bess cannot connect on his first shot as a Spartan. .150 to go. This game was sharpied a few moments ago by my partner. And now Tum Tum there and up the floor. Here's Ellis on the drive. And the rebound ripped down for Eastern Michigan by Jordan Martin. In the corner, Valentine for 3. And a rebound for Okoloji.
I like that scrap from Bess. Not only winning the 50-50 ball, but making the right decision on the pass.
I like that play from Alvin Ellis with the swat. Up ahead to Bess. Bess is fouled, and he will go to the line.
I know every Spartan fan was thinking the same thing on that drive. Don't get hurt. Just lay it up there and see Bess number 2. Watch him run the floor. Eastern Michigan not exactly running back hard, but good to get his feet wet, get in the game. He's only had like 3 practices. You know, he's had a broken foot, so they brought him back a little bit at a time. And the problem with a foot injury, Kevin, as opposed to a wrist injury or a shoulder injury, it's hard to stay in good condition. You know, lower body injury, ankle, foot, knee, you can't really run. You could do some pull work, so it's going to be a while before he really he may never feel this season like he's totally in the flow, but if Izzo can get, you know, 12 to 14 minutes a game out of him, maybe 8 to 10 minutes of quality rebounding, defense, convert, hit some free throws, that's going to help.
Now it'll be interesting to see what the status is of Brandon Dawson moving forward. That may have to accelerate the process a little bit for Javon Best. And these next 2 games will be good opportunities for him to maybe get a little extra time if need be.
Well, this is what you use the non-conference for as well. So they're back in the home stretch. We mentioned at the top, 6 of their first 8 games were away from home, obviously playing very difficult teams. You talk about a true road game at Notre Dame. They don't lose too many in South Bend. Kansas, Duke. So to have a stretch where they can come home and play, you know, lesser competition. You know, one of the issues we talked about with Izzo this morning was, you know, Travis Trice. You know, right now he's playing 32 minutes a game. That's too many for him, because when they had that tough stretch, you know, Kansas and Notre Dame at the end of a stretch where they had 6 games in 13 days, those 2 games, he was 6 for 27. So he's kind of a slight framed guy. You want to limit his minutes as the season goes on, because he can get worn down.
Keenan Wetzel with the miss for Michigan State. A quick 3 for Talley won't go, and the rebound inside for Wallenman. Nairn on the attack. He'll back it out. 36 seconds remaining in this one. Michigan State with a 66-43 lead. Ellis for 3. And Talley the other way. Okoloji on the run, got the bucket and the foul. Going to be a disappointing trip for Eastern Michigan. They came in very confident that they were going to be able to make some noise, but the Spartans just a little too much for this Eagle team to handle. They're going to drop to 8.
Well, I saw Michigan State in person in Indianapolis when they lost to Duke, and this is definitely, obviously, the competition they're playing is not nearly as Duke, so we'll grant you that, but they were not an efficient and confident team in Indianapolis. They are now. The trajectory is good heading into Big Ten play, and let's just cross our fingers that Brandon Dawson is okay.
Big Ten finale coming up in moments as Michigan State's going to close this one out. A 66-46 victory for Michigan State over Eastern Michigan. Impressive night for Tom Izzo's squad as they get the win.
Checked all the boxes, got everything he wanted. Most important was the win. But the way they won, their defense, and once again, the best three-point shooting team in America. Fine work.
That's going to do it from East Lansing, Michigan, where Michigan State defeats Eastern Michigan 66-46. The final tonight. Michigan State now 8-3 on the year. For Seth Davis, I'm Kevin Kugler saying so long. This has been an exclusive presentation of the Big Ten Network. Final score tonight: Michigan State 66, Eastern Michigan 46. Right now, let's get it back to our Big Ten studios and join Rick Pizzo and Stephen Bardo for the Big Ten finale.